Travel back in time with us as we explore the history of Northern Arizona. I'm Chidem de Jong.
And I'm Emmy Schultz. We're college students from the Netherlands discovering the roots of what has shaped Arizona. Thank you for joining us.
During the show, the timeline, which is shown behind us, will guide you through the roots of the state.
Northern Arizona locations are often featured in blockbusters. Life is like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're gonna get. Like our field reporter, Yaela Condapayas, who takes us back to the 1800s for a look behind the scenes of some famous films, revealing a few surprises along the way.
Thank you, girls, and welcome back in time. I'm currently standing in Hotel Monte Vista. It is a place where a lot of movies have been shot, movies like Forrest Gump and Casablanca. It continues to be one of the oldest fully working hotels in Flagstaff. And today, we're going to find out why this hotel is so famous and why people want to spend the night. Depending on who you believe, this hotel served as a backdrop for a scene in Casablanca and other famous movies.
I know that there's been a lot of folks that are huge Casablanca fanatics, and they come in, they want to see where it's filmed, but there's been so much renovation that's been done since the filming of that, so it's really hard to say now if it was actually filmed here.
Not only did they use the inside of the hotel to shoot movies, the outside was very popular as well. Although there were renovations both in and outside Hotel Monte Vista, the sign on the wall on San Francisco Street in the movie Forrest Gump remains the same.
They didn't actually send me a script, they just told me about it. And I thought, God, this sounds like a really stupid movie, you know. They filmed Tom, his brother, running through very cool locations throughout the US. Whenever Tom was really close on camera or had any dialogue, that was all shot in and around the Flagstaff or Northern Arizona area.
Another location where Forrest Gump continued his run was at this place, the Twin Arrows. The place is abandoned, but the Twin Arrows are still in the exact same spot. The scene that was shot here was the scene where Forrest Gump wiped his muddy face off the t-shirt and the smiley appeared. Elvis Presley was another celebrity who shot a movie in Northern Arizona. He might have been more famous for his singing than his acting career, but he did star in the forgettable Stay Away Joe that was filmed in Sedona. The beautiful landscape was used as a background in some of the scenes in the 1968 Western comedy.
I did not work on Stay Away Joe, but I wish I did, because to get to meet the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. But it's shot all over the Sedona area, East Sedona, West Sedona, back in the 50s, before Sedona was discovered. So when you see it, you'll see there's a lot of dirt roads that are now paved. You'll see a lot of open landscapes.
Now you have seen some of the greatest movies that have been shot here on these beautiful locations in Flagstaff and Sedona. Of course, there are a lot more movies that have been shot here, but there are so many more things that we want to show you about the history of Arizona. So that's why. This was Yaela Condapayas reporting for Back to the Roots. Now let's head back into the future.
In the late 1800s, railroads made Flagstaff a wild railroad town with saloons, dancing halls, and gambling houses. The railroads were necessary in northern Arizona to transport lumber, copper, and cattle. Joanne Glaudemans shows us the importance of the track and train in the development of the Verde Valley and Flagstaff area.
At the moment, I'm at the Visitor Center in Flagstaff, Arizona, a city entirely built on a rail line. Today, I'm going to talk to historian Johnny Anaya, who's going to teach us about the history of the railroads and how it contributed to the development of Flagstaff.
Without the railroad, it just wouldn't have developed as quickly as it did. It brought supplies in, it brought news from back east, it just made everything come together, tying the country together.
Culture and industry were bound by the railroad.
It loaned itself to being able to transport logging, and that was the main industry here in Flagstaff. It brought logs in to be made into lumber and then expand from there.
Railroads brought lots of reasons why people moved into the Flagstaff area and turned Flagstaff into a profitable place to expand.
It made employment much easier in the area. Also, they needed a way to transport or export cattle, sheep, things like that, where people were, that was their money maker, along with the lumber industry.
The development of the railroads in northern Arizona had a huge impact, not only here in Flagstaff, but also in the Verde Valley. Let's have a look. Clarkdale is located 1 hour south of Flagstaff. Today I'm in Clarkdale to talk with Ellen Roberts from the Verde Canyon Railroad. She knows everything about the history of the railroads and the development of the city of Clarkdale. Here they offer a lot of different train excursions, which we will experience today as well. The Verde Canyon Railroad provides memorable tours since 1990. Ellen was happy to show me around and explain the importance and beauty of the railroads.
The railroad is a living, breathing thing that requires maintenance and upkeep and constant attention. So it's like its own animal, actually.
Nowadays, the train is being used for touristic purposes. However, this has not always been like this in the past.
William Clark built this railroad to service the copper mines and to get the finished product out to the world. It was pretty back-breaking, labor-intensive work, as you can imagine, that, especially during that era. I mean, they used muscle and sweat and dynamite. They tried to follow the path of least resistance, and they followed along the Verde River all the way up.
Although the trains are not used to serve the copper mines anymore, today's transportation system wouldn't work without the railroads.
It's a very key transportation corridor still in the United States, and it should definitely be preserved.
As you could see, the history and the railroads differ a lot from what we are used to in Holland. Thank you for experiencing this historical train ride with me. This was Joanne reporting for Back to the Roots. Let's head back to the future.
Because of the development of the railroads, it became possible to transport ore easier, which had a big influence on the mining area, and as Dutchmen, we became curious about the legend of the lost Dutchman.
Turns out he's German. Anyways, in the 1870s, Jacob Waltz was said to have discovered a lost mine, and he never told anyone except for his partner where his golden treasure was hidden.
Our reporter Anouk van der Voort investigates on her own if the legend is true. Let's check it out.
Hi, welcome back in time. I'm standing here at the Superstition Mountain, which was the stage of the Lost Dutchman legend. Let's go and dive back into history. Meet Bob Scoos, mayor of Goldfield Ghost Town. Bob was intrigued by why so many people disappeared in the Superstition Mountains, so he moved to Arizona to find out why.
Some people that I went to school with had moved out to California, and they drove by the Superstition Mountains, and they told me the stories about, don't ever go in there, you won't come out, you'll get lost, you'll die, all this stuff. So that intrigued me, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to visit the place.
Bob has been the mayor of Goldfield Ghost Town for over 30 years. Along the way, he met lots of people who were obsessed with finding gold in the mountains, but not everyone got out alive.
There was a cave there, and we spotted it by helicopter, and I wanted to see if there was a way to get from the top down to the cave. So we flew by a couple of times and we took some pictures, and the skeleton was scattered on the side of the hill.
Getting into the mountains is a tough job, but the mining also had a positive influence on the area.
Lumber for shoring, coal to run the boilers, wood, firewood, wood to build the buildings. It affected the economy big time in the 1890s. It was exciting for the people.
Lost Dutchman State Park is not the only place in Arizona where mining played a big role in history. A couple hours north is the city of Jerome, which thrived in the 1920s because of the copper mines.
The largest population was back in 1923, and they were here for mining. And we brought there was people that were brought in from all over the world. Jerome was kind of a melting pot.
In the beginning of the 20th century, lots of people came to Jerome to mine. There was one method to get the precious copper out of the rocks. Jay Kinsella tells us how it's done.
Drilling a hole, start off with a hole this deep, with a drill bit this big, to a drill bit bigger, to a drill bit bigger. Then you pack that hole full of dynamite, you blow the hole up, you extract the ore, the rock, start the process all over again.
But there's more to it than knowing the right techniques. Jay says you have to be cut out to be a miner and know how to approach the mountains.
The key to a good miner is, first of all, being safe so you don't get hurt, because it is an extremely hazardous job. You have to be strong, you have to be conscientious, you have to have a great work ethic because it's tough work.
Although the mines have been closed for years, the influence of mining is still visible in Jerome today.
Historically, we were an industrial town that was based with mining, and that's where the income came in. Now our income comes in via tourism.
Hi, I'm Anouk reporting for Back to the Roots. Now let's head back to the future.
Every part of history has its own story to tell. Our reporter Christel van den Berg talked to Tiwa and Hopi artist Ed Kabodi about his culture and how he implements art.
I'm with Ed Kabodi. He's from the Hopi Reservation, and I hope he can tell us some more about his historic background and his tribe. So you make art and you play music. Is music something special in your tribe?
In our culture, you know, music and dance is part of worship, you know, it's part of our culture, a very central part of our culture, so music is at the center of that, you know.
Are there other traditions you have still nowadays that are from earlier on, back in history?
So my people have an unbroken line of ceremony from the time we've never been relocated. You know, like other tribes have been taken from here or taken from there. We're living in the same places that we were at the time of contact in 1539, in some cases the same houses. So our communities are considered to be the oldest continuously inhabited communities in North America. It's our responsibility to pray for this land, you know, that's why we live here, you know. Our ceremonies are praying for everyone else in the world, everyone else on this landscape, and praying always for rain.
There has been a misrepresentation in the media about your reservations, and I think the problem is that people don't know a lot about it, and they make assumptions based on what they heard, but that's only one side of the story. So what's for you the other side of the story that the people need to hear?
There is no other side of the story, because the story that people have been fed is fiction. You know, people get fed John Wayne movies, you know, and that's their conception of Native American people, you know. The lands of the Colorado Plateau that we're on right now, and by the Colorado Plateau, I mean an elevated mesa that exists in the northern part of Arizona, almost the entire state of Utah, and parts of western Colorado and northwest New Mexico. So it has these great expanses of beautiful, amazing landscapes, the Grand Canyon Arches National Park. And this landscape has, per square mile, the largest number of national parks, you know, in our country. And yet, this landscape is probably one of the most exploited landscapes for uranium, water, oil, and coal. So that's been the story, you know, of Native American people in the Americas, not North America, South America just as much, if not more so, and Central America, you know, the people of Mexico and the people of South America, you know, which because of our indoctrination, we don't even consider those people Native American. But to us, they're very closely related in this region, you know.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
And now we are honored to have Ed Kabodi introduce himself in his native language and play us a song.
Biagindi navik emaing huaping angumu kwari arik ea to akap o winge arik sungopavi iwiri. Biagindi me in ko o in tete in papa in kuidovi e se dovi e tiu in pare in biagindi.
Ed Cabody is a member of the Hopi tribe. With deep-rooted histories in the southwest, more than 20 local tribes thrive within this landscape. Marese Vervolgen shows us a few areas where these tribes lived in high desert environments.
Welcome back in time. Today we are at Wupatki National Monument. It was established in 1924. Nowadays they do not only preserve the archaeological sites but also the plants and animals. We're going to talk to Lauren, who is a ranger here.
The main reason why Wupatki National Monument exists is because of the Pueblo structures that are here, the archaeology. And the ancestral Puebloan people lived here between the early 1100s and the mid 1200s.
Many people from all over the world visit the monument every day, but also the local community.
We do have people from Hopi that come here on a relatively regular basis and do ceremonies within their traditions because they believe that this is still a place where their ancestors live. This is a living site for them.
The largest site is Wupatki Pueblo. It had about 100 rooms and hosts 200 people. All rooms had different purposes.
It was 3 stories high, so it was a pretty big structure, all made from the sandstone rocks that are here, just found here naturally, like what I'm sitting on. This sandstone is what we would call laminated sandstone. So it breaks in nice thin layers in pretty good rectangular shapes.
Look at all the history that Arizona has to offer. That's why we're going to travel to another place where early settlers have lived on.
We drove all the way to the middle of nowhere to get to Rockart Ranch. Here we're going to talk to Brantley. His family has lived here since 1945.
When the pioneers came in on the Colorado River over here in the late 1800s, 1876, this was Navajo country. And the Navajos lived all over this country.
There's so much history on Brantley's property that archaeologists come to research and make sense of the remains that have been found. For example, the kivas. Brantley made sure to keep the native structures intact.
We had them leave it open, fairly good sized area, and I built a structure around it. It's absolutely beautiful. It's the real thing.
Brantley drove us to the most special part of his property, the canyon. It contains beautiful petroglyphs made by different tribes.
Nobody really knows why they're put here on the walls. There were 30 different clans, and they all had their own symbols. And the archaeologists over on the canyon there, I'll show you, they've got a few pictures of some of the petroglyphs in the canyon, but they printed out pretty plain. They say, we do not try to interpret the petroglyphs because we may never know the exact reason they're put here.
Did you just check out the drawings in the canyon? They are millennials old. That's incredible. This was Marese reporting for Back to the Roots. Let's head back to the future.
As we move ahead with our lives, we will look back at the time we have spent here in northern Arizona. These mementos will remind us of all we have learned during our travels, such as the hidden treasure of the Lost Dutchman, classic film locations, insight on the lives of trains, and the importance of the American Railroad.
Unfortunately, all good things come to an end. We have traveled from ancient times till the 1900s, visiting different places around Arizona that all had their own influences on the state. My name is Emmy Schultz.
And my name is Chidem de Jong. We hope you have enjoyed our journey back to the roots.
Thanks for watching.